moss ball maintenance or Monstera Adansonii. So I'm going to show you how to transfer this into a bigger moss balls like the other ones that I have. It's been trying and trying and trying, but the issue is that it doesn't attach to the plank. That's why the idea of the plank or this type of support doesn't come handy when it comes to chop and extend later on. So what I'm doing here is a different, very different kind of moss ball. Hi, welcome back. So I've been delaying this for way too long. So you're gonna see the issues of procrastination and maybe lack of incentive and neglect that I've done to this plant a little too much. But it's time for them to get the attention that they need and that they deserve. I've been bad about this because I've been wrapped around the other plants, but this can no longer wait. Like I mentioned in the previous video, plants are dictating which ones are needed attention the fastest. And all maintenance, because it's maintenance, is not that exciting, but without it, if the plant is struggling, if it has fallen off of the moss ball, if it has outgrown the moss ball, or simply needs an extension. And some of them need, like I said before, a chop and extend. But the ones that I'm going to address today is going to be a little bit of everything. I have them in different settings. I have neglected them, so it's time to dive into this. Today's episode is moss ball maintenance or Monstera Adansonii. So let's start with the easiest and the one that doesn't need much attention right now is the one that I have in this pot. But as you can see, they start throwing vines so they can attach. Look at this. This one has grown through one of the fenestrations, so I'm gonna have to cut the fenestration open. But you can see how many vines are here. This plant, for example, I got it possibly 3 years ago. I put some cuttings from that original plant. That is one of the ones that you're about to see. I put some cuttings in here, and it took it a minute. It took possibly about a year to fill up the pot and to start getting big. But you can see look at the size of these aerial roots that it starts anchoring on the ground. So the way that these plants grow, especially let's start from where they grow. You're going to find them in the natural habitat from the South Mexico all the way to Brazil. They grow like this on the ground. They start in the ground in the rainforest, and then they start looking for a tree to climb on, looking for more light. As a monstera, they grow big. And when I'm saying big, in the wild, they get to probably 30 feet. I might be wrong. It might be even more than that. I will correct it down on the screen when I edit it. But the fenestrations that happens, they will get even larger as the plant grows. This is the way that the plant deals with strong winds and let the light filter through, and also with heavy rain, so it doesn't get damaged from the water or from the wind. But at the same time, it also lets the light filter through as well to the bottom leaves. But if you see, even from the smaller leaves, because you can see this at the store, see this leaf right here has just one fenestration, and this one that is even smaller has more. The more mature the plant is, the bigger the fenestrations, and of course the bigger the leaf. So what I'm going to do with this, considering that this one doesn't need a massive tenter right now, I'm going to put it on the side, and I'm going to do a repot later and mount it already to a moss ball. But what we're talking about today is moss ball maintenance, and here is where the ones that are really been neglected come in. This was a cutting, and this cutting, as you can see, didn't do really well last year, but it's been in the back burner, and it's the one that I have right there next to the gate, and it's probably where it has all this stress from going through the gate. So I'm going to give it another location, but this is one that needs right now an extension because the next node is right here, and once this leaf develops, it's going to throw another node that it doesn't have any support. Now this one almost lost all the leaves last year, but as you can see, it has grown in size. And something that I want to do with this is to actually, this is a lot of waste space, and I'm trying to think if this is going to get just an extension, because this I don't think it's going to give me any new growth if I don't chop it. So I'm sure that I have good anchoring roots, I can tug and it's not coming out, so they are good roots here that are already attached on the moss ball. So what I'm thinking is like I'm gonna chop it around here and then let it callus, and this is gonna be chopped into like making new propagations. Actually, let's do this. I'm gonna chop it in several parts, but I'm not gonna remove it from the moss ball just yet. So this is what we're gonna do. I have the knife already sterilized, and I'm gonna start here. Then I'm gonna have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 notes. There's a very short note space in between those notes, same as that one. So I'm gonna chop it again there because these are also attached to the moss ball. This cut is going to promote growth from here. That's the theory, that's the hope, and I'm gonna continue on this project in the next couple of days. Now, this is, let's say, the largest one that was on a moss ball, and this is one that I have the longest. This is the mother plant of where the other cuts come in. But I had it on that cove next to the big Monstera, and as you can see, both have grown out of the moss ball. And if I chop this right here, right now, it doesn't have any aerial roots to support the plant. I will have to put it in water. I will have to get rid of all of the, like a lot of these leaves as well. Same thing with this one. That's one of the issues, that when you let this happen, not only they don't have any roots growing into the moss ball to do a proper chop and extend, they also start bending out of shape. But this one definitely, because if you see, like, it has a massive aerial root right there that's been looking desperately for something to anchor to. Once I add the moss ball right there, the plant will redirect itself to keep going up. The reason that it has bent is because it was growing like. And to be honest, I didn't notice till I pull it out, and it's been there for a year. But I have had this plant for about 3 years. This was my first Adansonii, and actually at the beginning there's a new plant, a new shoot coming all the way here from the roots. If you see, the vine is all the way down here, but I think this mix is a little too solid for this plant. Even though that is done okay, I know it can do better. Let's see what the root system is like. We're gonna change the substrate, and we're gonna just extend the pole. Like I have, this is an extension already. If you can see it right here, I did an extension last year, but then I've been neglecting it, and now I'm paying the consequence. And of course, later on, when as the plants respond to this fix, I will keep you updated on what it's doing and how it's responding. But the more I'm gonna be able to attach is like right there. If I try any higher, it's probably gonna snap, and there's no need for that. And there is one, look at this. So this, you see like 2 vines here. So this vine, which is the larger one, it had, both of them have split. This one split right there. You can see it split right there, grow behind it, and then it starts throwing this other vine. This one, I had chopped it there. That's where the previous plant came from. And as you can see, the one that I chopped, it didn't grow anything, but it threw a new vine next to it. And this is the one that we have right here. And even that I can attach it there, this part right here, it's not getting well close to the moss ball. So this is one of the reasons that I've been avoiding, because I know I was gonna find all kinds of stuff with this plant, and I've been a bad plant parent with it. So let's fix this now. I'm gonna get rid of this soil. I can tell you that the root system is gonna be as massive as it is right now. I just wanna chunk it up the mix a little bit because it's a little too dense, and because I'm watering it every day, and I'm gonna place it in another spot where it can be better served. Now, another detail: this plant has been outside the whole summer, the whole winter, and everything. So when it comes to the plant growing habits, it's actually doing great. So I'm afraid to do much to it, but at the same time, if I don't chop this is not attached, this is not attached, and to be honest, this is not attached, but all of this, the rest of this plant is completely attached to the moss ball. So I believe that the best course is going to be to chop them both, give this one a fresh start because it might regrowth from the bottom, and chop these ones possibly like down here. Yeah, because if I wanted to use this extension, there's nothing really, probably a couple of roots. So I'm going to show you how to transfer this into a bigger mass balls like the other ones that I have. But first we're gonna chop this off, and there's a like a little bit of a grow point right there, so I'm gonna chop it above that, both of them, and let that callus. Now, last one but not least, definitely, it was a different experiment that I tried, and it didn't work as I expected to do. It's been trying and trying and trying, but the issue is that it doesn't attach to the plank. And I also put, if you can see, there's two different plants in here. This is something that also needs obviously attention, and I'm going to show you this here what is. But this one has not grown that much. So if you see, this one is struggling like big time because it's not either vining or actually climbing. On the plank, I always have to use these little thumbtacks to keep it in place. But if you see the difference, you see the stem, how it's gone from thicker to finer, and that's simple for the fact that the plant is trailing instead of climbing. So trying to attach this to the plank will be useless. So I'm going to chop it here, and this, for example, was attached, but it easily detaches from the plank. Look at the size of these aerial roots. If I grab this plant and I put it in a moss ball, it's going to grab immediately. So with the first one that I did, that is like so bold after the chop, I'm going to put this plant in there, and this is going to go in a propagation box. Probably going to chop these little nodes also and turn them into little propagations and see how they do. If you can see there, this plant will be surely, after it grows some roots in the water, it'll be ready to put on a moss ball from the get-go. Also here, my mix is also thicker because this is the plant that I had from Dallas, and my mix was not as chunky or as chunky as it needs. On the other side, because I thought of this setting as a central piece that was in the middle of the patio, so I have plants on both sides. This is a Epipremnum jade, or just the green form, and it also continues to like come off of the plank, and this one has much better attempts to attach to the plank, but it doesn't really attach to it because it continues to fall if it gets top heavy, because you know that if you see the size of the leaves start getting size, the size of the stem, it starts getting size. So if it becomes too heavy and the smallest things just gets it off. What I'm going to do with this spot, considering that I'm going to remove this, is to start over with all of them, because if you see, if I remove the thumb tag, they're barely attached. See, like they just come off really easy. And also the thumb tags are, see, like the only root that has attached really was this one, but it has a little bit of like a Velcro situation going on there. And this one has tried, but it didn't attach to the plank. And these are plants that at the beginning I thought, because I was moving them, that the movement was doing the detaching and everything. It's been there in that spot for a year, and it continues to not attach. The only one that has attached to the plank is this bottom root right here, that it has attached to the plank and is anchoring into the ground. The rest of them have failed. So this I'm going to clean up and keep it in this spot. I'm not going to try to like change the soil or anything because the plant is doing fine. I'm just going to remove this one and then put a moss ball right here for this plant to really enjoy the climb and not being susceptible to keep detaching. And you see like how much easier they come off. There's a second root right here, but this root have already gone into the soil. So the melanochryzum took the last of the deep gutter that I have, that is the modern one, and it's even on both sides. So all I have right now as deep is this regular gutter, that if you can see it, is a regular gutter type. It's a little not uniform because it has this lip as a regular gutter does, but this is all I have at the moment, and there are no funds to go get the other one, at least not right now. It will do the job. That's the way that we're going to tackle the pothos, but that's going to be in the next episode for the epipremnums. Now, when it comes to this, all we're going to do is just remove it and attach it to a smaller moss ball. And there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, because this one I had chopped it and then chopped it and then chopped it, and the only one that is still going is this one. This one I chopped it here and it grew. I have chopped it there and here, and it has grown to here. All those little cuttings are the ones that you see in the first one that I show you. This one, for example, has two chops, but it has not grown anything from it. And this one has also a chop, two chops, and is growing from underneath. So that's to tell you a little bit about the plant response of when you chop it, how that it diverts that energy from the chop into the lower nodes. Because this one, I'm gonna address it later. I'm just gonna set it up so it's not hanging. Look at the size of this stem, how thin it is when it was not able to attach. And once we start trying to attach, it start getting thicker. And look at the size of that aerial root right here. So this plant has great potential to become massive, but this was probably needed to be done 6 months ago or so. But what is done is done. Now you've seen the melanochrysum episode, which is the one before the last that I did. I mentioned there how some plants did succeed from putting them directly after they were binding into a moss ball. This is one of them, because if you can see here, basically what I did, it was just drop it in here and attach the vines into the plant. And even that it's not a moss ball, the plant has responded well to that without dying off like the Epiprenum neon or the neon pothos that it completely died out. But it might have been for a different reason, not because of the setup. That's the thing that we can never know. But I have bring the rest of the ones that are going to need attention in these upcoming episodes. This one doesn't need much more than just adding some netting and moss, some cleaning. And I learned something about this plant that you want to stay tuned for because it's a game changer. This is the Monstera cobra, or also known as Stadleyana, variegated, and it needs a little more netting and a little bit of moss. The next episode is going to be the cobra. The next episode is going to be the Epiprenum jade or green form, however you want to call it. And I don't have just that one. I have also a couple of Epiprenums. They are in they are here. I believe this is a mixed spot between Marble Queen and the jade, and is really looking for something to attach. I'm probably gonna get some of this spot into one of the settings of the next episode for the Epiprenums. Now I will say that this is my oldest one, even more than older than the one in the plank. So this will be the first one that I got. And look at the difference. The ones that are growing here, that's normal that these leaves are smaller, but then you see the stems are smaller. But even these ones that have growing a little thicker are not really throwing bigger leaves. And this one is better attached than the other one. So this one is going to need a major attention, a repot, because the roots are coming out on the bottom as well. Talking about epiprenums. In the next episode after the jade, this one I didn't attach it right, so it just came off. But still, that is not fully attached. And also down here, there's another growth. There's two more growth, two more vines that have not attached yet to the moss pole. They have made this little curve. This is the Marble Queen. So after the jade, there's gonna come the variegated epiprenums. This one I just need to secure this extension and actually make sure that the vines are attaching, because even this one right here is not fully attached. So I need to like just reposition it and get a new couple of straps. And one of the things that I have to be mindful of this is like when the new leaves are growing, to be on top of them, that they're not growing into the moss pole, because that had happened as well. So this one is gonna be in the variegated epipremnums after the jade. My mandula as well. This one already has one extension, I believe. No, it actually doesn't have an extension. Yeah, it has an extension right here. So when I started this plant, it was about right there, and it has double the size. But it have took 2 years for that. The leaves are finally like getting some growth, even though that this vine has not really attached to the moss ball. So that's another thing that I'm gonna secure it so it has more contact with the moss ball and give it a little another extension so it can grow for another year. Also, this plant has been out here the whole winter. That's when the size diminish between this leaf and this. You see, there's like a downsizing on the leaf size, and that's due because of the winter. And on episode 5, we're gonna address silver sword or hastatum. Now, this one needs attention quick and a repot because you can see the roots are coming out of the bottom. I would say that it doesn't need a chop just yet, but I am going to chop it because this, look at the thickness of the stem right here. I wish I had a cameraman so I can see what I'm doing. See that? So this one is growing quite fast, but it's also on that alcove, and I don't think it likes that alcove. I need to reset this whole patio, and that's coming up in an episode soon because I'm on arrangement as water needs for that matter. So this one is definitely going to get a chop and extend. And the regular silver sword or astatum that is growing a brand new leaf right here also has grown quite extensively on the size of this vine. This one not so much, but this at the same time because it has a little bit of a curve here. It has more thickness over here. This one is just going to need an extension, not even an extension yet. It's going to need a little more netting and a little more moss just to be ready till possibly spring. Because of course, being out here in the winter, or what I call the extended fall, not getting that much heat, they don't grow as fast. I wish that this one had some roots because these roots are ready, but I'm just going to chop it here and put it in water, and I'm going to chop those nodes. See, for example, like how tight those are, and then how separated these are. That's an indication of a good amount of light and not enough light. The reason that they do that is like when they don't have enough light, they extend the vine or the internode, the space between the nodes, or you can call them internodes. They get longer and extended because they're trying to reach better light. If you can see with this, they're all really tight together and they were in the same pot. So it's hard to say. Like I always said, if they will talk, will be so much easier. So this is the one that I'm gonna put in a smaller pot with a small moss ball. So I changed my mind. This one, I'm gonna cover it up right now so these roots don't dry out. And I'm gonna actually put this in the moss ball that I'm gonna do the big setting one that is on the beginning of this episode. That way this one is just not hanging all alone by itself. And actually what I'm gonna try with this plant is different. So stick around. And that will be tomorrow because I have a lot of prep to do for that to happen. So 1 week later. All right, so it's been a little longer than I wanted for these plants. I'm sure that all the cuts that I made are completely callous, but it's time to address these plants. I'm gonna try with this one. I just wrapped it in paper and keep it moisture, but it's time for it to be repot. One of the first things that I had to do is to make more aero mix for moss balls. If you haven't seen it, it's under my mix playlist. So this is the mix. And if you see, I have here an extension, and I chopped this right there. Actually, it's up here. And you can see those roots. You see how these roots are actually different than the typical anchoring roots. That's why the idea of the plank or this type of support doesn't come handy when it comes to chop and extend later on, because the roots are not going to grow into this. They will anchor into this. They will have support, but the roots are not going to grow these smaller roots. These smaller roots are the ones that are absorbing nutrients and make the plant grow. I'm just going to remove this over here because I have the other cut right here. So let me show you what that looks like. I can hear that there's one of the roots that actually has to make it down to the pot. And this is one of these anchoring roots that is thicker. So that anchoring root I'm going to cut. So that's the difference. Now what I'm going to do with this, I'm going to prop it in here with this plant right here. I'm going to keep it the way it is. This way it's up. Because also we have roots coming out also from the bottom, but we need to soften this up so we have room to put these other plants in there. I'm going to remove the bottom one. This one we're just going to like let it dig in here into the moss. And this cutting we're going to put a little higher because it has some roots in there. Let me bring you closer so you can see better of what I'm doing. So see with these roots right here, we're going to just make sure that they're making contact with the moss. Remember, like these ones right here are the ones who are in the plank. So all these roots haven't had like much of chance to attach to anything. So once these roots are, I'm going to have them tied close to the moss ball so they can sense the humidity of the moss ball and grow into it. And I know it's a little crowded right now, but because the possibilities of all of them growing can be a little slim, not having that much room in there, I'm gonna swivel this one right here. Because all these stems are quite thin, so this is basically going to be a propagation setting that we want these plants to get in touch with the moss. I am directing those aerial roots towards the moss. Move the leaves out of the way. Do the rest. So I don't need a bigger pot for this, but the roots need a little bit of an adjustment because I was trying to like come out of the bottom. We already have medium in the back of it. But also at the same time, I don't have the resources to make that many moss balls. So it's going to be basically a propagation moss ball. You still need for mycorrhizae because this soil is already inoculated. And we're going to put it aside to give it a good water. So that will be one. So they're both around here. So you see that I have an extension right there. So what we're gonna do is move it from here. So remember, this one has been with me for 3 years. At one point, it was just this, didn't have any leaves. That's another thing that I give credit to when I do styrofoam, is that it reduces the amount of soil. It doesn't only like just lower the weight of the pot, but it reduces the amount of soil for the root system to become waterlogged. Because this time, for example, I have not dropped, there's like an attempt of like throwing like aerial roots there. This one had a little bit of like smaller roots, but there's nothing really going on there. But this one that had a longer anchoring root, after the chop, is already having a grow point right there of a new leaf. So what we're gonna do with this, we're just gonna reset it into the moss ball. Now that all that is loosened, so once we're here, we have enough room for this to go into the new pot. And this we're just gonna cut. This one is like make this one a little thicker, because this stems like getting thicker, and they're gonna throw thicker roots into the ball. Remember, like this is just a backing. You can make the moss ball as thick as you want, as long as the net is wide enough to wrap around and be able to tie it up. There's another tie right here, so these are closer to the moss. Make sure that when you make it tight like this, that the moss is not very compressed, because otherwise the roots will have a harder time to get into the moss ball. So I can grab now the same piece that we had removed from the bottom. Thing is, if the moss is too compacted in the area, if it happens to get hydrophobic, it's a lot harder to rehydrate the whole thing, especially on a vertical setting. Your fingers should be able to get in there without much resistance. I'm just going to use this tag provisionally till I have it vertical, and then I can address any extra ties that need to be added. Right now I'm just using that one to give me a little support and getting the plant straight up. Because this right now, the aerial roots are going to come up from here. Now that it's attached here, I'm just hoping that the plant redirects itself and start going backward into the moss ball. With that being in place, we have room right here to add another extension. And look at me being crazy. I'm going to put this one up here, because remember that the moss ball is an extension of the pot. So this will relieve me from stressing about this moss ball needing maintenance anytime soon. This that is all crooked, I'm going to remove it. And all I may have to worry about when we get to this point is just to make this part of the moss ball thicker. But that's very easy, as you saw. Part, which is adding a pot. So this, instead of like trying to force it into the moss ball, what I'm going to do, I'm going to chop this off and I'm going to put it on the pot, like the bigger one that you saw at the beginning of the video, and let it grow that way. So I'm going to use this pot because it's a little taller and it gives me a little more anchoring for the moss ball to balance into it. We'll see how this winter comes. They're going to stay out here or if I'm going to bring them inside. So on this pot, I'm not going to put anything as far as like slow release fertilizer or anything of the sort, because there's nothing in here just yet. And putting any of that will be just to be flushed down the bottom in a couple of waterings or in a couple of months before any roots are even there. So right now, to be honest, I could just hang this the way it is. Let me reset your point of view again. I am reusing this same soil because it's already inoculated. It's a good mix. But what I'm going to do with this is basically start over and turn it basically into one of these. Then from here on out, I'm going to chop this into like single nodes and make them root. This one has root, for example, already. So this one is going to go right there. Same thing with this. That's what I did with that planter. So they all have a little bit of aerial roots already, so I don't need to put them in a propagation box. So all of those have a little bit of aerial roots or regular roots that are coming through the nodes. So that one is going to be a future project just like that one. Now, when it comes to this one, I'm going to address it tomorrow because the idea that I have needs some thought, and I'll continue with that then.
3 days later.
All right, so I finally figured out what I'm going to do with this. Because at the beginning, I was going to just try to use the same pot, but considering how big this plant is getting, and that is probably the root system will get damaged if I do this in this pot, because the pot is probably small already for the amount of roots that we have here. So what I'm doing here is a different, very different kind of moss ball. So I've been looking at some different videos of other creators and such, especially in Indonesia, are using felt instead of moss. But I'm gonna make a combination of both because in my belief, like felt is gonna have the same issue that just the plank. It's not gonna have enough room for the smaller roots to develop in, and possibly the roots will break through the felt because it's not that compacted, but it's not that thin either. So this is completely an experiment, but I'm going to use a different kind of pot, a different kind of moss ball from a different setting from the get-go. So what I have here, instead of one tutor, I have three. And to keep this felt also moist, it will have moss in the middle. So let me direct the camera so you can see exactly what I'm doing, and then we can start. So I'm going to start here from the side. Now the space that I need between these two for the pot that I'm going to use is just a little wider than this box, but because there's a little bit of a curve in the pot, I'm going to bring it up just a little further back to have some wiggle room, because then on the front it's going to be thicker, and for that reason I'm just going to staple it. The middle one is going to go a little further down than these two to follow that curve. So all I'm going to do now is just start filling with the moss. And because this is contained, you can also use any mix that you want, like aeroid mix and such. The only problem with that is for me here, because of the salty air, the breeze in general, it can dry out really quick, even with my daily waterings. I'm not going to completely fill it. I'm just going to give it up to here because the runners that we have right now are not that long. Although this one uses a lot of material, but it's a big plant. So, and again, this is an experiment. I have not seen this anywhere. I just saw the being a wrap around tutors like those or planks, but I haven't seen this combination anywhere. So this is brand new, and it's definitely an experiment. Right. So now I'm gonna just cover it, and we want this to like come in a little bit. So I'm gonna cut it. I'm gonna cut it around here. I cut this felt to do a living wall, but the idea of the living wall was to be out here outside. And for the plants that I wanted to do on the living wall, they are not going to have a big chance of surviving the winter, especially because I wanted to fill the bottom with calithias and then do climbing plants in the back of it. So I'm going to use the side of this tutor, and this one is going to have plenty of staples. And just for finishing purposes, I'm going to add a couple here for the fall. So for the moss not to fall down, I'm just going to bring a fold from the back. If I knew where my regular stapler is, I will have probably a couple of staplers here. But I don't think that's going to be an issue. If that happens, I will add a couple of staples, or I can stitch it up with some thread. But now to the important part. So I did find this ice bucket or a drink bucket in the dollar store. I think it was like $5, possibly. I don't remember exactly, but I like the idea of being clear. This plant is going to go great in there, so we can see the root development and everything in between. I add the drainage holes. So this is going to be quite heavy, so it's going to have to be against a wall. But right now, I'm going to use the chair right here so I can bring it down a little bit. And at this point, I'm going to add my usual additives. And this one will stay outside because this plant has been outside the whole time. And I'm going to prop it against the wall, probably back here. And then I'm going to show you how I'm going to tie these runners into the felt. You can see the root system is quite large. So all I want to do is make it a little more narrow, so the whole root system gets comfortably inside the pot. So I'm going to bring you over here on this side. So I want to start arranging these leaves out of the way towards because look at it, like the size of these roots. They are trying to get into the pot, but these are looking for something to attach, and they have nothing to attach to. Same thing with this one out here. So I'm going to start first. I'm going to use these clips, this like for orchids, and right now I'm just going to let that room there, the root will find a way into it. You also can use this type of anchors, but you have to like poke through the felt. So if you see these roots here are already soil roots, so I want to keep those in the bottom into the pot. These were cuttings just like the ones that I put in the other pot. So you see, like, it was a stub, and most of them, all of the nuts, just like throw roots in, and just one grew out and produced the plant. And now all I have to do is just fill the rest of the pot. So right now, till it settles, I'm going to use some clear tape, and I'm going to close those handles. I'm going to throw some more of the usual. We don't need mycorrhizal here because, like, it has plenty of the previous soil that is already inoculated. And I'm going to give you a shot with the other ones that just got water. All right, so that is the end of this episode for the Monstera Adansonii. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments, and what do you think? Is this gonna work, or what? Is there anything that I should tweak to like make it more efficient? But again, this is an experiment. Thank you so much for sticking around. I hope you enjoy it. I hope you get any good ideas. Maybe like you can develop a better version of this moss ball, or you can take advantage and make your own, and let me know the progress and the development later on. I will really love that. Don't forget to also drop a like, comment, and share, and more than anything, please subscribe. It means the world to me for you to support this channel. If you want to add extra support, there's a link right on the screen right now and down in the description below for daily reactions, so you can buy me a coffee and add support to the channel. Thank you again. I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye.